Days before Christmas, a nightmare unfolds.
Car on fire, smoke pouring out the windows. There's a body inside.
We didn't know if it was smoke inhalation or if she'd been shot. We had no idea.
The family of a vibrant young woman is left wondering in agony.
I said, you know what happened. You know what's going on.
We were very concerned that there could be another victim, and we needed to find that child.
A chilling case where everyone is a suspect.
Could it have been him?
When people were pointing the finger at me, man, it blew my mind.
So who was the last person to see her alive?
Could the answer lie in surveillance video taken moments before the murder?
She says a few things, she gets into her car, and she drives away.
In Minneapolis, Minnesota, winters are harsh and seemingly unending.
It gets extremely cold. We get a lot of snow. There's some months where it doesn't get above zero. It's 10 below, 20 below, very cold.
Winter up here ends up being 6 months. You go from November to April. That's long and dark.
But folks always find a way to brighten the long winter. As Christmas approaches, the Minneapolis suburb of St. Paul Park looks like a dreamy winter wonderland.
So, are you ready for the next one? To take a little light?
Deborah Tilson has her own favorite tradition, the annual holiday cookie exchange.
Christmas was a big deal at our house. Money's always been kind of hard, and so we would bake a lot of things for our family and friends, and they loved it. They expected it because it was something they didn't have to do then for entertainment's sake.
Deborah especially enjoys sharing that tradition with her 19-year-old daughter, Christine.
Cookie baking was always our big deal, and she would sit down at the table and everything would be spread out in front of us, and there'd be frosting and sprinkles and laughter and giggles and sugar overload all over the place.
They smell cute, really cute.
But this year, she preps her ingredients, waiting for her daughter Christine to arrive.
How are those cookies coming?
I'm getting ready to cut them out right now.
I saw her at around 1 o'clock. I said to her, now you've been promising me, for 3 days you're gonna be home to do these. Now are you gonna be home? And she said, yes, I'm gonna be here to make them.
Christine is a busy single mom who manages to juggle parenthood, work, and lots of friends. At times, she spreads herself too thin, but she always calls when she's running late.
You know what? She promised me that she would be here this afternoon when I spoke to her, and she hasn't shown up yet.
Don't worry about it. She's just hanging out with her friend.
Deborah's wondering where she is. She wants to call her on her cell phone, but realizes, I can't. Why? Because Christine gave her cell phone to a friend.
Do you know what? I'm gonna call Zach, just to make sure.
Instead, she calls Christine's ex-boyfriend, Zachary Matthews.
Hello?
Zach, this is Deborah. I was wondering if you'd seen Christine.
No, I haven't.
She was supposed to be here this afternoon?
I've actually been wondering what she is as well.
I said, Zachary, this isn't like Christine to just go missing.
Well, if you hear from her, will you please give us a call and let us know?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay.
I told him, I said, well, you need to call me as soon as you hear from her. I'm gonna leave my phone on, it's fully charged. I don't care what time of night it is, call me.
We don't know where she is.
She'll be home shortly. Just take a deep breath. She'll be okay.
As the evening wears on, Deborah can't believe Christine still has not called her.
My first thought was, did she run out of gas? That girl was always all about running her gas tank down to fumes.
But she does her best to put those fears aside.
We really just went to bed thinking, she'll call in the morning or she'll be here when we wake up.
While Deborah and her husband sleep, a woman in Minneapolis makes a horrifying discovery.
As she approached the car, she could smell something smoldering or something had been burning. She thought, somebody had been smoking dope or something.
Okay.
Go!
As the smoke begins to clear, they're both looking at the car, and what do they see inside? A body.
They pulled the victim out of the back seat, and then he kind of sprayed down the area a little bit.
Investigators from the Minneapolis Police Department arrive on the scene.
When I arrived at probably a half hour after the call, I saw the victim laying on the ground. She appeared to be early 20s, mid-20s. She was dressed, top and pants on, but that was it.
Detectives notice something unusual. Her shoes are missing, and she is not wearing a coat.
My thought was that she had been killed somewhere else and brought there. Your first thought is, did she live nearby? Did the suspect live nearby? Usually, that would be the case.
But in this neighborhood, crime is the exception rather than the rule.
A lot of the homeowners are, I guess I would classify them as yuppies. It's a good neighborhood. In all my years in homicide, I've never had a homicide in that area.
The only person who's seen anything is the woman who found the car.
The 911 caller had told us the car wasn't there before 6 p.m., and she called about 8 p.m., so it happened from 6 to 8 p.m.
Inside the car, they find a purse which contains a credit card belonging to Christine Larson. A check on the license plate shows the car is registered to Deborah Tilson of St. Paul Park, Christine's mother. Crime scene techs search through the car and find a partially burned phone book.
When you see partially burned papers in the back seat, partially burned telephone book, it told me that whoever did this probably used whatever was available to them. They didn't plan, get another accelerant like gasoline.
The coroner arrives and performs a cursory examination of the body.
He finds hematomas in the eyes. Number one, that means strangulation. He finds a ligature mark around her neck, which indicates some type of strangulation with maybe a cord or something else.
Investigators suddenly notice something in the car that suggests they may have a second victim.
Might possibly have a missing child.
There was a car seat in the back seat of the vehicle, and my first thought upon seeing that is that obviously the person that had the car had a child also.
Well, that raises many questions. A, where is the child? B, whose child is it? The victim's or maybe the killer's?
We were very concerned that there could be another victim, and we needed to find that child.
On a frigid December night, 6 days before Christmas, Minneapolis police are investigating the murder of Christine Larson, who was found inside a burning car. Adding to the sense of urgency is an empty car seat found inside.
When we saw the baby seat, we started to feel that there could be another victim. We weren't sure at that point if it was the victim's child or not.
Please call that in. We might have some reports of a missing infant or a missing baby.
They have to call dispatch. They gotta get word out immediately that there could be a suspect in a murder out there traveling with a young child.
While investigators are looking for the perpetrator, officers are sent to notify Deborah Tilson that her daughter has been murdered.
It was around 3 in the morning. We knocked on the door. We're armed, of course, and but at 3 o'clock in the morning, I guess we have the element of surprise. We asked her if she owned this car. She said that it was her daughter Christine's car. So at that point, we knew that Christine was our victim and that this was the mother of the victim.
We found the body of a young girl in the back of a burning car, and the ID matched a Christine Larson.
She started to scream and cry. Her husband was trying to console her, put his arm around her.
No!
They told us both, and it was, it was a shock. Every parent's worst nightmare, and the first words out of my mouth were, I want to see her face one more time again.
News of the tragedy brings a flood of joyful memories of her youngest daughter.
She was just my little cherub baby. She always looked like a little Buddha. She had just a huge smile, bright, sparkly personality. I always say, I wasn't the only one that lost a child. Her brothers and sisters did as well, because they were like little mothers and fathers to her.
She had a smile that I would call a 1,000,000-watt smile. Like, it lit up a room, it lit up her entire face, and you couldn't help, when you were around her, seeing that smile, to smile yourself.
Christine was extremely outgoing, making friends wherever she went.
She loved to be around people. She would find any excuse she could to create a gathering, to have people around.
She was a spitfire. She would do everything and anything to have all the attention focus on her, which wasn't hard because she was so gregarious and so accepting and loving.
While she did well in school, her academic career was sidetracked by an early pregnancy.
She ended up getting pregnant at 17, giving birth, and going into schools and talking to girls about, it's probably not the way you want to go.
But Christine fully embraced motherhood and her young son.
It was hard. She wasn't afraid to ask any of us for help or to let us know that she was struggling, but she loved everything about it. She was a great mom. He was her world.
Detectives are now desperate to find Christine's son.
So they asked Deborah, can you call the baby's father and find out if he has the child?
Miss Tilson, do you know where Zach might be?
He's at his place with Darian.
Do you know if the child is okay?
Well, sure, he's with his father.
We were relieved in that sense that the child was okay. We started to ask them about Christine, where she was that day.
She was going to come to the house to make Christmas cookies.
Do you think that Zach might have had anything to do with this? Is there any chance?
No, I mean, Zach is part of our family. So, Zachary, how did you two meet?
School. Yeah, high school.
Yeah.
I had a crush on her.
Do you have any family in the area?
He had told Christine that he had no family nearby, and it was looking at winter. And being a school bus driver, we had a spare room, so, we said, well, how about if he lives with us? And that young man was amazing.
Shortly thereafter, a romance between Christine and Zachary blossomed, and Christine soon found herself pregnant.
When Christine became pregnant, I was very concerned, and she was really upset with herself, real hard on herself. But, we sat down and we talked through, and she's like, yes, I'm going to keep the baby. And Zachary was very giddy, very excited. I truly believe that Zachary actually just wanted to adopt our family for his own.
Although the romance eventually faded, Zachary remained close to the Tilson family, co-parenting his son with Christine.
Zachary just fit into our family. I mean, he kind of just warmed his way into everybody's hearts.
I know, he's silly.
We asked, does she have any enemies that she's feuding with? Is she in any gang association? Is she, afraid of anybody?
Deborah admits she was very upset with Christine's friend, Marcella, and believed she knew where her daughter had disappeared to the day before.
We knew that Marcel had left the house with Christine at around 1 to 2 p.m. So since she was the last person known to be with Christine, we needed to find her.
There was that element of, okay, she was the last person that was with her, so she's got to know something. I think all of us were questioning what she knew and thinking that she was covering for something.
Minneapolis police detectives investigating the death of 19-year-old Christine Larson are looking into those closest to her, hoping to find something to point to her killer. They turn their attention to the person who last saw Christine alive, her friend Marcella.
I woke up to a phone call from a mutual friend of us, and he told me that Christine passed away. And I didn't believe him at first, because it just sounded just too crazy. I called her mom's, and I said, I just asked him, like, what's going on? And he said, Christine was... He confirmed that she had passed away.
The family has already been pressuring Marcella for information.
She was with the victim. That's all we knew at that point.
After everything happened, her mom called me, just yelling at me and screaming at me and like, oh, you are always out with Christine, and all these allegations and stuff that wasn't even true. It sounded like she was like blaming me in a way.
I decided to talk to Marcella about, what was going on. If she knew why Christine was being so quiet and so secretive and staying away from the house the last 3 and 4 days. And I got a little irate with her and I said, you know what happened? You know what's going on? Where is she? And she swore up and down she knew nothing about it. And, Marcella said, no, really, Deb, she just dropped me off and she left to go get her son.
Now, police want the full story of the day Christine was killed.
Christine was actually looking for a job, so I convinced my manager to, give her an application, and then she got an interview right away so that we could work together.
After the interview, the two friends go back to Marcella's house so she could shower and get ready for work.
She was going to take them to Toys for Tots or something like that Zach had set up, I think, previously.
Marcella said she didn't speak to Christine again after she left the gas station.
Marcella told us that Christine had brought her to work at the Super America, and it was obvious they had cameras both inside and out. So we talked to the manager about getting copies of those tapes.
Shows that she was there from 2 p.m. to 10 p.m. One of the other things it shows is that Christine had visited her at work that day.
We saw her come into the Super America with Marcella. She says a few things. She gets into her car and she drives away. She's alone in her car as she's driving away, and there's no car following her.
They ask Marcella if she knows of anyone who might have been responsible for Christine's death.
That somebody actually took her life was really hard to fathom because she was such a good person and so nice and so helpful. And I told him if it would have been anybody, it probably would have been her baby's dad, Zach.
Marcella says Christine and Zachary's relationship had its ups and downs.
He would go and hang out with his friends, or I think that she was thinking that he was cheating on her. She found like pictures or text messages or something that kind of led her to believe that, he was having, talking to somebody else.
Something's come up. I'm sorry, I have to go.
What?
I'm sorry.
Again?
Christine ultimately breaks up with Zachary, moves back home, and enrolls in bartending classes. This seemed to motivate Zachary to get his own life on track. Christine's mother assumes that both are moving on with their lives. Marcella is not so sure.
I noticed him trying to do little things, always trying to tell her that he misses her and that he loved her and stuff.
Zach, no, I cannot deal with this. Zach.
And I kind of questioned, like Christine, like, what's going on? Like, he's really trying, why don't you want to get back with him?
At that point, it's a possibility that Zach might have been involved, but You know, there were so many possibilities yet that we had to work through before we could decide one way or the other who the suspect was.
Detectives tracked down Zachary, Christine's ex, and the father of her child.
Zach, can you tell us everything that happened that day from the first thing in the morning to the end of the evening?
We were supposed to take our son out.
He said she was supposed to come over to his place and take him and their child to a Christmas party in downtown St. Paul. And she was supposed to be there around 2 to 3 p.m. He said she never showed up. He never heard from her, so he went to the Christmas party with the child by the bus.
Zachary tells him, look, you know, I spoke to my social worker that day. I had a conversation for several minutes. I mean, you can verify that. Just give the social worker a call.
We found his social worker, and he told us that Zach was there with his child, and that, you know, Zach was had gotten his Christmas presents for the child. And he said that Zach was a nice guy, a mellow guy, that kind of thing.
I took pictures of us on the bus that day.
Zachary can even verify his presence on the bus that afternoon.
That's your proof.
He said, I took our little guy on the bus and we went down to this toy drive that we qualified for. And I said, well, that's nice. I said, you know, make sure you keep him warm, you know, make sure, you know, he's got mittens and whatnot on. He goes, well, I sent you a text picture of him. And so then I went back and I looked at my phone because I had turned it off, and there was the picture of him.
But detectives have to ask him about Marcella's allegations.
Zachary told us that he was upset about, you know, the breakup. He said that he was happy for her. He was glad that she was moving on. We asked him if he had hurt Christine, and he said no, he loved her.
Right now, with Zachary and everything lining up, they're pretty close to excluding him from this investigation.
One of Christine's friends goes to police with some information that sends the case in a new direction.
She said that Christine had was starting to see a new guy. Derek is his name. She thought he had went to jail once before for something. She said that he had a girlfriend that he was living with, and that Christine had concerns about that. Derek could be involved in Christine's death, or maybe his girlfriend, his baby's mom, might be involved in the death too. Could be a love triangle gone bad.
Jealousy can come into play here. And what happens with jealousy sometimes is it turns into what? It turns into rage. And what does rage turn into? Rage turns into violence.
But what the friend says next really raises red flags for detectives.
And started talking to her. She wasn't expecting to see him.
When you hear that he runs into her randomly, thoughts kind of run through your head. I thought it was a weird coincidence.
That would make Derek perhaps the last person to see her alive. And usually the last person they're with is the person that killed him.
The murder of 19-year-old Christine Larson sends detectives chasing a trail of false leads. But they finally believe they are zeroing in on her killer.
Christine had bumped into Derek that afternoon in St. Paul. You know, it's a few miles from where she lives, so. That's unusual in itself, that he would just run into her. You know, it might have just been a coincidence, but, you know, I don't believe in coincidence. Also, if he did run into her, he would be the last person that we know of that Christine had seen when she was alive. So he would be a very good suspect at that point.
Investigators are now desperate to talk to Derek.
Hello, I'm Detective Zimmerman. This is Detective Johnson.
We're looking for Derek.
He called out today.
The problem is, no one has seen him.
Derek didn't show up for work that day. None of the friends had heard from Derek. She thought that Derek might be on the run.
I think naturally, because their relationship was so new, that's where our minds went. Could it have been him? I remember hearing something about his ex-girlfriend. Was she somehow involved? Was it something about him getting back together with her?
Christine's friend has given detectives Derek's cell phone number. But each time they call, it rolls right into voicemail.
Thank you. Thank you, sir.
We think that he is, hiding out from the police at that point. We are, pulling out all stops to locate Derek.
As police do that, Christine's family holds a memorial service for her. The response is overwhelming.
There were a ridiculous amount of people. I remember hearing that they ran out of parking. People were parking blocks away to come to the memorial service.
She had so many friends and teachers and mentors and acquaintances. There was no room for everybody inside the funeral home. People were waiting outside to get in to say goodbye to her.
Zachary is distraught at Christine's death.
He cried. He laid on the floor and just broke down and said he couldn't figure out, why anybody would do that to her.
But the rest of the family does their best to comfort Zachary and each other.
It was amazing. I still to this day had no idea that young woman touched so many hearts.
Look, Derek, we really need to know.
Investigators finally manage to track down Derek, who agrees to come to the police station for an interview. He appears to be upset.
He was grieving the death of Christine, and he felt terrible about it, according to him. And so that was his reason for basically, dropping out for a while.
According to Derek, he and Christine had only been seeing each other for a few weeks.
She was amazing, bro. I mean, if you can imagine an angel falling from the skies, and she's always happy. She was just a beautiful, lovely person.
While Derek was courting Christine, he was ending another relationship at the same time.
She found out, and when she did, all my things were packed when I came home from work, sitting by the front door. She basically is like, get out, I don't want to see you again.
Derek moves in with his brother and says he and Christine started talking about sharing an apartment with a couple of friends. When asked when he last saw her, he tells detectives he happened to run into her the afternoon she was killed.
We need to find out what he meant by running into her. Did he just see her? Did he talk to her? Did he kill her?
So all I did, I pulled up, go to the Chinese food place.
Christine's car passes right by me. I look, I'm like, is that Christine? But she always had like a baseball cap in the back of her car. So I look, and it was her. So I turn and, go alongside of her. When I pulled up alongside of her, she was caught at the light. And I kind of pulled up, and I'm, waving like, hey, hey. She rolled down the window, we kind of exchanged words. She was like, I'll give you a call, once I get home, and, we'll talk.
Oh, great. Okay, well, I'll call you later.
And then, we went our separate ways.
By coincidence, Derek says, I was going to my favorite Chinese food restaurant, and I ran into Christine along the way. If I'm a cop and I'm looking at that, I'm like, what, just a coincidence? You happened to run into the girl on the day she was murdered? I don't know about that, Derek.
I just kind of stayed home and waited for that call. And I didn't get a call back. Then the next morning is when my cousin called and told me about it, that she was murdered.
I know she's gone the whole town. I don't know. I don't know what you want me to tell you.
He said that he truly cared about Christine, that he loved her, and he came across as very believable.
But detectives still need proof before they clear him from the suspect list.
From what the detectives were saying, in most cases like this, it is somebody that knows the victim. It's not a complete stranger. Of all the things, to bump into him, more than 15 minutes from the house, that was crazy. I just couldn't believe it.
We asked him for the cell phone that he's using, and we have Zach's number, we have Derek's number, and so we start a tower search, which is triangulation of where the phones were at. The times that Christine was missing from, approximately 2 p.m. Until she was found at 8 p.m.
3 days later, they get that information, and it blows the case wide open. Police investigating the murder of Christine Larson have been tracking her new boyfriend, Derek, and Zachary, the father of her child. They hope that cell phone records will finally tell the story of what happened and who she was with on the day she was killed.
And what they find was Derek was at home, that his cell phone was pinging off towers far, far away from that crime scene.
It matches to what he told us of never leaving that area that night.
Zach, can you tell us everything that happened that day from the first thing in the morning to the end?
But the records from Zachary's phone tell a completely different story.
Zachary's cell phone records show him at his apartment in the first part of the afternoon, and then going toward downtown, which is where the Christmas party was at.
So you and your boy get on the bus to go down to the Christmas thing?
Yeah, it was roughly around 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Got there around 4.
Then it shows him coming back toward his apartment. And then it shows something unusual after that, something he didn't tell us. It shows him hitting towers along the freeway going westbound from St. Paul toward Minneapolis.
That's that. That's my story.
Investigators believe they've found their killer.
Police, search warrant!
They obtain a warrant to search Zachary's apartment for any evidence.
Where?
Inside, they find a stack of phone books that match the one found in the burned car. The kitchen holds something unusual.
In the sink was a thick glass vase with a very heavy bottom on it that it had been cleaned. And I wondered why you have a vase in your sink, that had been washed off. It's a little unusual.
In the bedroom is even more incriminating evidence.
Yeah, I got blood on these sheets.
There was blood on the sheets, and on the comforter, there appeared to be blood.
Then, detectives find something that suggests a motive.
It was like a 3-page letter, and it was written in a way that you would think a manifesto would be written, expressing his love and his devotion to Christine and how she had done him wrong in the past, but he had forgiven her, how he loved her, and certainly didn't match to what he had told us about being glad that she was moving on.
All this evidence seems to point towards Zachary. The problem is that he's now staying with Christine's parents, who are taking care of him and their grandchild.
We didn't tell Deborah or her husband that Zach was a suspect at that point because we needed them to not show any emotion when they were giving him a ride down to the station to meet us.
He was nervous because he was called down for questioning more than anybody. And he's like, I don't know, how they can think that I could do that.
When Zachary is questioned this time, he appears nothing like the grieving ex-boyfriend.
He first says, I already talked to you, why do I have to talk to you again? He seems a little bit teed off that he's being interviewed once again.
You know what, Zach?
And then I stopped him and told him that, we have ways of finding out where you were, and we can prove where you were.
And we know that you're hiding some stuff from us.
And he's like, how do you know? So we finally told him that
we did some stuff with your cell phone. We know where you were at certain times.
Your phone shows us exactly where you are. You're lying to us.
So you're accusing me of killing her?
Zach, this is the time. Because the tower showed.
When detectives accuse Zachary of killing Christine, he denies it.
I didn't do nothing.
Zach.
I can't believe you would accuse me of this.
Zach, the evidence is there, Zach.
He thought that his son was an alibi, saying, if I were a killer, would I put my son in the car and take him with us?
So where was my son at this whole time? What was I doing?
Zach, that doesn't matter,
It
Zach.
do matter.
No, it doesn't.
Shit matters.
Zach, what matters is where you were.
I just brought him back to the point of, this isn't about your son. This is what you did to Christine.
Zach,
No DNA, no.
we have, Zach,
So
we have.
I was talking to her mom while I was killing her. That's what you're
Zach,
telling me.
Zach, you killed her and you dumped her in Minneapolis.
After endless rounds of questions, Zachary finally realizes he's backed into a corner.
He comes up with his version of the truth. He says that he went to the Christmas party with his child, and once he got back, he'd wondered where Christine was.
I came home. I found her dead in the closet.
He got scared, thinking people might blame him for her death. So he put her in her car and left his child in his apartment.
Zachary says he drove Christine's body to Minneapolis because that city has a higher murder rate.
Here we have Zachary saying, I just thought she'd get folded into all of them and that I'd get away with it.
He said that somebody else must have come along and burned her because he would never do that to her.
So how do you get back then?
He says he then headed back to St. Paul on foot, eventually catching a bus.
He talked about how it was such a heroic thing for him to walk back. He had to walk along the freeway for a bit because that was the only way to get across the river.
He says, I come home and I find Christine dead in the closet. I put her in the car. I drive the car to Minneapolis. He expects cops to believe this. It's ludicrous.
Zach, you don't find people dead in your closet.
Okay.
Okay, it just doesn't happen like that.
Investigators piece together their own scenario of what happened that fateful day.
I think Christine's running late when she dropped Marcella off, and Zachary's sitting in his apartment. He's thinking that she doesn't love me, she doesn't care about me. So when she gets there, he begins to argue with her about that.
You're always with your boyfriend. You're never here.
And my guess is she told him, forget it, give me the baby, I'm out of here. And he wasn't gonna have it. He lost his temper. He starts to hit her. And then chokes her to death. Once he returns, it's dark, so he takes her out to her car, comes back in, grabs a couple of phone books to use as kindling to start the fire, and drives her to Minneapolis.
Most killers, they don't plan anything after the murder. They plan everything up to the murder and nothing afterwards. And sure enough, we got a guy who, in a fit of rage, kills his ex-girlfriend, and then he doesn't know what to do with the body. So he decides, I'll burn it.
Despite Zachary's failure to take full responsibility, police know they have enough evidence to arrest and charge him with first-degree murder.
I always kind of felt like Zach had something to do with it. I know he wanted her back, and I know that she wasn't going back. And I think that he probably felt like, if I can't have her, nobody can.
It made me furious that after all that we did to include him in our family, to accept him, even after Christine became pregnant, it was sickening that he could do that to her and to us.
Zachary Otis Matthews is charged with first-degree premeditated murder, first-degree domestic abuse murder, second-degree intentional murder, and interference with a dead body. In October 2008, Zachary Matthews is convicted on all charges and sentenced to life in prison without possibility of parole. Christine's parents assume responsibility for raising her child.
When you think about the definition of what a friend is and what a friend should be, like, that was Christine. kind, always there if you ever needed her for anything. I just miss her smiling face. Her smile lit up the room.
I always think, what would have happened? Where could we have been now? For a while, it ate me up inside, knowing that I got to meet an angel for 11 days, and then they're gone.
I miss having my baby sister. I miss the conversations. I miss that she was our light. She was, no matter what, she was the one that held our family together. I think the biggest thing I miss is her personality and just her heart.
Christmas was the holiday for me. I mean, we would deck the whole house out. Now it's more a forced celebration for me, and I do it so that her son can understand that this is important, and these are traditions that his mother would have liked him to continue with. But yeah, Christmas is difficult. This year was the first year I made the Christmas mice all on my own, and they turned out really cute, and everybody loved them.
For months, the unmade cookies sat on Deborah's kitchen counter as a reminder of the night Christine died.
I think it was right around March, and I said, I'm either gonna make them or I'm just gonna put them away. So in March, I put those cookie ingredients away.